if we constantly feel like we have to bite our tongue, we have to walk around on eggshells, we have to like say the right thing all the time and never just truly speak our authentic truth, that can create emotional burnout in our relationships. That can make us feel like, frankly, our full self is not just accepted and loved. That feels like conditional love in relationships when we feel like we have to bite our tongue and that we will be judged or reprimanded or, shamed or looked at differently if we say to our partner no, or if like ladies listening, or if your partner says to you no. If your boyfriend or husband says to you no, and you are kind of like judging them, shaming them, criticizing them for that, like you are then becoming the problem. You are then completely disregarding their needs. You are not allowing them to feel safe in the relationship. You are not honoring their authentic truth in that moment. And look, there are some things that we all have to do in life that we don't want to fucking do. And I get that. And so there are times where, your partner says no and you're like, suck it up, we're going anyway. Like I completely get that. And there are times when you want to say no and like, whatever the situation is, it's like you have an obligation or you've committed to it or whatever it is. And you need to say yeah. And like you need to go. And so this is where it's like, we got to remember, I've spoken about this previously. Like I definitely notice in personal development these days, it's kind of like people are getting so obsessed with almost like honoring their boundaries and, being selfish, like in a good way and meeting their own needs, that they are saying no to everything. And it's actually creating selfishness and loneliness. And it's disconnecting people from their friendships because people now feel like I can't rely on this other person. There are times when you have to show up when you don't want to. What I'm saying is, and also saying no is the cornerstone to a healthy relationship. Also saying no to your partner builds trust and it demonstrates integrity and it creates a safe space and it has that consistency and boundaries which boosts respect for each other. If you want to have a relationship that has safety, then you need to have a relationship that doesn't make either of you feel like there is a fear of judgment or retaliation or like this kind of like emotional reactivity where if you say no, the other person's going to blow their lid. And a safe emotional environment in our relationships, that is what then allows us to feel safe being vulnerable, safe being intimate, safe feeling connected, safe in just being our true authentic self. 99% of the time, what actually like the fear of saying no is the fear of like rejection or being ridiculed or being shamed or judged. Like we don't say no to the other person because of our own stuff. The more that you just fully own your authentic self, the more that you do the healing work around, all the layers that have been put around you over time for feeling like you have to be somebody else in order to be loved. When you get rid of all of that, that is what then makes it feel so easy to say no. Like truly, it feels so easy to say no. And that doesn't mean that I say no all the time. Like I am a very disciplined, very directed kind of person. And I do things even when I don't want to do them, but I also can feel my no. And I know, and I can feel intuitively when I need to say no and when I want to say no, but I'm actually going to say yes because of whatever the situation is. The other thing that's really important to understand with, like the power of saying no is this thing that I love to speak about of like unhealthy codependency. So as humans, we are codependent anyway. And that is like a very normal part of being human. When you fall in love with somebody, when you build a life with them, like, yeah, you're fucking dependent on them. Like I'm dependent on my husband. Like I love him and I like want to be around him all the time. And like, I just want to be like one person with him, like fully meshed 24/7. So I get that. However, we also need to make sure that we don't constantly outsource our power and our sense of like nervous system regulation to another person. If we don't know how to say no, and if we don't let our partner say no, like if we don't create that safe space and if we don't honor his no's, what can happen is that one partner then starts to rely too heavily on the other for the emotional validation, for the nervous system regulation, for the kind of like, even just like trust in self. Like you're relying on the other person to almost tell you what to do because you don't trust yourself. That starts to lead to an unhealthy dynamic. That is when people then, I've spoken about this before in terms of co-regulation. It's this thing that I keep seeing on Instagram where people are using their partner to regulate their nervous system. Like I'm going to co-regulate my nervous system with my partner. And a child needs their adult parent to co-regulate because they don't know how to regulate their own nervous system. But when you as an adult are reliant on the other person to make you feel safe so you can then not say no because you're like, I don't want to piss, my wife off, or I don't want to piss my husband off. What that is doing is you are saying that I only feel safe when I get my regulation from my partner. My goal for all of you, and it's so powerful when you can feel this, is that you're able to say no, or you're able to put your foot down, or you're able to basically do something that once felt very scary for you, and maybe it still feels scary. And your partner could blow their lid or could get really triggered or whatever, or get really reactive, and you still stay calm. You still back yourself. You don't then start saying sorry and being like, oh, I shouldn't have said that. Like, I'm just crazy. Like, I'm so sorry. And then it gets into this whole fucking emotionally manipulative situation. Like, that is not the vibe that we're going for. I mean, I could go on and on and on, ladies and gentlemen, of why no is such an important part of a healthy relationship. But I really hope that today's episode kind of gave you a pretty good indicator of if you're not saying no to your partner right now, you need to. And not saying no when, again, you're wanting to actually, like, you can please your partner. Like, that's part of being in a relationship, is doing something for them, sometimes you have to put your needs aside. Like, sometimes both of our needs can't get met at the same time. Like, ladies, I'm talking to you as well. Like, we can't always be queen bee. And that is part of a loving relationship, is that we have to learn that, and we have to stay regulated in the fact that we don't always get our needs met all the time, that it isn't just about us all the time, that sometimes it's actually about our partner. Sometimes we got to put our needs aside. Sometimes we have to do something that we don't want to do. But like, holding that as one truth, we can hold two truths at the same time. And we also need to hold the truth that it's safe to say no, and that it builds trust and respect and honesty and integrity and safety in a relationship when you say no. It truly, truly does. And so for those of you kind of listening to this episode and you're like, okay, I don't even know what the fuck to say no about. Like, I'm so used to just saying yes all the time. And like, damn, this really has actually been a massive source of resentment, where I just keep letting shit just get shoved under the rug time after time after time after time. You have to take self-responsibility for yourself. You don't have to share it with him or her. You need to take self-responsibility of where you've not spoken up for yourself. You need to make some promises to yourself, and you need to figure out, like, you need to actually take some reflection time on what are some of my no's? Like, what are some of the things that I need to honor my no for? What are some of the things that he asked me about, or like he invites me to, or he wants me to do, and I say yes, but I actually mean no? Like, even think about this week. What were some of the things that you said yes to, but you actually meant no? And remembering, you can start with a no and change to a yes. You can start with a yes and change to a no, right? Like, even with sex, I get this question a lot in Queen Alchemy. And even at my immersion, my in-person event, although I don't know what it's going to end up being in next year and whatever, in the year after, if we even do one next year. But anyway, because there's just like so much up in the air with everything coming. I'm like, I need some things to be sorted out so I can like make a plan for next year. Anyway, for those of you that have been to the immersion before, you have done Queen Alchemy before, you've probably heard me say this. I'm going to kind of give like a little, high level version of this, because obviously you guys get the nitty gritty in the program that you pay for. But women will say to me like, I often just don't feel like I want sex. Like, he starts like touching me or kissing me, and I'm immediately like, I just don't want to have sex. And I'm like, why are you assuming you're about to have sex? Is he penetrating you? No, he's kissing you. He's touching you. You can start with just being open, with being curious, with exploring. Like, you could start with just, I'm not even going to decide whether I'm a yes or a no. Let's just let my body relax and see if this feels good. And maybe you start off with a yes, and you can always decide, after a little bit of foreplay, actually no. And that's completely fine. Or it's kind of harder to start off as a no and then go to a yes, because he might have been out of the mood now, or she might have been out of the mood now. But it's just remembering sometimes that sometimes we can also be really easy, like very quick to jump to a no. It's like a reflex, right? Even when it comes to sex, it's like, no, I'm tired. And that's a reflex, rather than actually exploring and playing and being curious. This is more so to do with like, I'm not saying like, I mean, you even could do it with like, you know what? Yeah, I'm going to come to the friends gathering, and then if I want to leave, I can leave. Like, you actually can even do it for that. This obviously can't apply to every situation, but sometimes you start with a yes, and then you can also change your mind into a no. And that's completely fine. It's just really about like honoring what our body is saying to us, but still keeping in mind the fact that like we have obligations, not from like a place of obligation, but I mean like, you have commitments, I should say. You have commitments. You have things that you have said yes to, and you need to follow through with them, because that is what it means to be a good friend, a good partner, and not in like the good girl way. I mean, like, you want to be a good friend. right? Like I want my friends to be good friends. So even if they're sometimes tired, I'm like, don't say no, just like fucking show up because it'll be good once we get there. Like that is what it also takes to be a good friend. Like effort. Effort is required in so many areas of life. And so this isn't about becoming lazy. This isn't about just being like a hermit because that is not healthy either. This is just about realizing that being in a relationship full of people pleasing or ladies thinking that being with a man that just says yes to you all the time, get that idea off a fucking pedestal. Because I'm telling you right now, I have worked with enough women to know that that starts off great. They think it's fucking great. And then a year in, 2 years in, 5 years in, 10 years in, it is disastrous. And you can obviously change. You can repolarize the relationship. You can get rid of resentment. I work with women on this all the time. You can get rid of resentment. You can heal. You can build the trust back, but it takes effort. So don't wait till you get to that point. Ladies, the last thing I'm going to say is that if you find a man saying no to you triggering, and men, you could find a woman saying no to you triggering, so like swap it as well. But I'm going to go for the ladies. Ladies, if you find a man saying no to you triggering, that does not mean the solution is find a man that doesn't say no to you, because in 5 years' time, you're going to actually resent him for not saying no to you. What that means is you need to heal your shit around men. You don't feel safe with a man putting his foot down. And maybe that's because your dad abused you, or maybe that's because your dad didn't respect you, or maybe that's because your dad said no to you about everything. And so when you hear a no, it makes you just want to fight, right? And that's your own nervous system. That's your own programming. That's your own healing and your own wounding. That's your responsibility. It doesn't mean that your partner then needs to start walking around on eggshells and becoming a people pleaser and zipping his mouth just to make you feel more comfortable. Because here's the thing. And this is the last thing I'm going to say. You are responsible for your own internal sense of safety. I'm going to say that again. You are responsible for your own internal sense of safety. If you do not feel safe walking around the world 99% of the time, that is nobody else's problem. That is your problem, in the sense of, and I know other people caused it, but it's the problem. I say like it's your problem in the sense of the only person that can actually fix that is you. It doesn't matter how much somebody walks around on eggshells, you will still feel unsafe until you heal the trauma somatically and energetically that is stored in your body from all the times that you were made to feel unsafe